Okay, so today we're going to revisit the topic of Bayesian network. Bayesian network are an extremely fascinating topic, well, especially because the relation to causality. So, once you think about Bayesian network and you add causality to the basic assumptions that have to do with the network, then there's a very interesting theory that gets you to the point where you can deduce the effect of something on something without actually conducting controlled statistical experiments. And the interesting thing about this is that the assumptions behind it, and I'm not being formal now, are very weak in the sense that you were able, like in all good experimental design, you were able to identify all the factors and the basic relations, not exactly what the relation are, but whether there is a relation or not. And you have a lot of data, as usual. So as I said, Bayesian network are very, in my mind, an amazing topic. And we've talked about Bayesian network in the past. I'm going to recap some of the basic notions, not today, so that we'll be on the same page, everyone. And then I'm going to show you something very fundamental about Bayesian network. So maybe just to set up the scene, or to explain where we're going, what we would like to understand is what are the effect of other variables on the variables we are interested in, so that we can, at the end of the day, say, if I give this medicine to a person, it's going to help that person. But I'm not going through the traditional process of designing a controlled experiments when you have randomization and you have a control group and all of that stuff. I want to deduce it directly from data, and the payment I need to pay is the modeling of the effect of all variables in a certain way. That's the Bayesian network, or the causal Bayesian network, which is the setup or the framework to do this type of thing. Okay, so let's start with a simple definition. What is a Bayesian network? So a Bayesian network, we'll think about a Bayesian network as a directed graph where the nodes are random variables, and the edges are such that you can think about the joint distribution of the variable to be defined in the following way, this way. So in order to compute the joint distribution of n variables, giving the graph, all you need to do is know how to compute the conditional probability of a variable given its parents and multiply it. Okay? Now, in general, we always can factor any joint distribution in this way, the way I've represented here. So the joint distribution of x1 to xn is the probability of getting x1, and then the probability of getting x2 given x1, and so on, up to the probability of getting x2 given a x1 to xn minus 1. There's a mistake here. It should be x1. So that is always correct. Okay, it's always applicable. And the Bayesian network kind of let you introduce some assumptions about the data, about the relations between the variables in the data, so that you can basically remove some of the dependencies. So for instance, say we have a Bayesian network that has to do with rain, washing a car, the floor being wet, and someone sleeping, someone falling because of the floor being wet. So we would represent the Bayesian network in the following way. So you have whether it rained or not, and you have whether you washed the car or not, and then as a result of these things, it's intuitive to agree that the floor could be wet, right? It rained. And then again, it's intuitive to agree that if the floor is wet, there's a chance that someone will sleep before. So that's the Bayesian network. Now, the joint distribution, the joint distribution of SW, SH, and R, these 4 random variables, is well, we can always factor it into in any way, in any order, and say, you know, the probability that gonna rain, and the probability that we're gonna wash the car, given that it's gonna rain. But you see, the way we represent it, we assume that it doesn't matter, you know, if it rains or not, we could wash the car. There's no dependency. So basically, R is not a parent of SH. So we ignore that. So basically what we are writing here instead is the probability of rain times the probability washing a car, as if that is not connected to whether it rains. One might argue that that's not perfectly correct, but you see, this is my model. Okay, and then I could always talk about, you know, the probability of the floor being wet, given that car was washed, it rained, and someone fell. But again, because the parents of wet is only SH and R, I can erase that. That's my, if you like, independent assumption that has to do with the Bayesian network. And then the last one, I would want to write that the probability of falling is dependent on everything else. That's the regular factoring without any assumptions. But then, because the only parent of S is W, the floor being wet, so I'm ignoring. So given that the floor is wet or not, whether the person falls or not is independent of rain and washing the car. Okay, so that's an illustrative example, basically, of how I go from the general factoring that is based on the axioms of probability to the specific factoring that I assume for the Bayesian network. Okay? And one of the interesting questions about this is what kind of dependency and independency assumption can we assume on the Bayesian network, can we read from the Bayesian network, so that we can, as I said before, deduce that there's a certain relation between certain things, although we don't have the opportunity to actually conduct a control experiment. So what I'm going to explain today is something interesting, and this is this lemma here. So basically what I'm going to explain is the following thing. So given that you have a network of this sort, it looks like that. Then the probability of x, y, the joint probability, is equal exactly to the probability of x times the probability of y. So x and y are actually independent. So what is happening is we look at data, okay, and we are trying to deduce the structure of the Bayesian network from the data. And whenever we can come up with this type of a relation, we know that x and y are independent, and that eventually will help us deduce different factors that we can disregard, and as a result we can deduce something about relations between some other variable and some other variable in the network. So in principle, you can deduce that a certain medicine works, although you never did a controlled experiment, the way classical controlled experiments are done. Previously, we've shown that, for instance, if you have something like that in the network, then given that you have a concrete value in z, then x and y are independent. So basically, it's very interesting in terms of experimentation. So in terms of deducing something from the data, if you have a situation that is similar to this one, you want to control the variable z in order to enable you to deduce things. On the other hand, if you have a situation of this sort, you want to not control the variable. If you control the variable z, then the independence goes away, and that is bad for your objective, to deduce the data. So all these other variables that you're not interested in, sometimes you want to control them, sometimes you don't want to control them. So that's kind of surprising, but this is the reality of this world, and that's something you need to understand. So let's see why the variables are independent in this case. Okay. So basically, we want to see that the probability, what the probability of is of x and y, the joint probability. So this is simply the probability, the joint probability of x, y and Z. Going over all of the sum of the probability of X, Y, and Z, going over all possible values of Z. Okay? Is that clear, this stage?
Yep.
Okay. And now, what does that mean? It means, well, because this is how the network looks like, so we can change what we have in the sum to be the, remember, we're only dependent on the parent. So the probability of getting a value Z given X and Y times the probability of X and the probability of Y. This is the joint distribution as we read it from the network. Now, these two here, they can go out of the sum, outside of the sum. So you get probability of X, probability of Y, and then the sum of Z given X and Y. Anyone know what this sum is? I'm going over all of the possible values of the variable Z, given some values for X and Y, and I'm summing the probability up. So what is this sum? What's the value of this sum?
I'm assuming it's 1 because we want the answer to be PX, PY, but I don't understand why.
No, 2 points. 2 points. It's good to, you look for your objective, so you say it should be 1, right?
Right.
That's what you'll say. And indeed it's 1. Can anyone explain why it's 1?
Yeah, that I can't do.
Okay. Anyone else?
Because it has to be you're summing over the probabilities of it being every value, right?
Exactly.
So
I'm going,
in general, you can do that without conditioning, but here you're conditioning first, so it turns out to be the same thing.
yes, exactly. So I'm saying, okay, I'm saying the floor is wet and it rained, doesn't matter. And then I'm going over all of the possible values of Z. So person slept or person didn't sleep, fell or didn't fall. So together that probability should be 1, right? Makes sense now? It's a very intuitive but subtle point that we need to get used to. So once we go into conditional variables, we still have the same, it's still a probability distribution, it has the same behavior, Sam said. So, right, so we get that this is 1. So all of this, 1. And as a result, we got that it's independent. Okay. So that was not part of the regular flow of the book, as I said, about machine learning testing and so on, but just a detour on Bayesian network. Potentially that these things can be applied in all kind of things that are relevant to quality testing and drift, but that's only a potential at this point. The interesting thing that happened in this area in the last maybe 10 years or 20 years is the fact that there's a solid, well-thought theory of how you can actually deduce whether A is influencing B in a certain way without directly from data that is available and without running a controlled experiment. Any questions or comments about this? Okay. Okay, so thank you very much for joining today, and we'll continue next week.
Thanks, Eitan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eitan.
Thanks.
Thank you, Eitan.
Eitan, you'll share the recordings, right?
Yes.
Because I missed last time's call as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And you've canceled the next one.
Again?
You've canceled the next meeting,
I've
which was
canceled
there
it.
at 7 o'clock. Yeah, I maybe you want to stop recording.
Yeah, I stopped recording. Let me
Okay.
double check. So we have actually,
I got a cancellation note.
why did you get a cancellation?
I don't know. That's why, I mean, it's my calendar's behaving funny. So when I open the
So we
reminder,
have now a meeting on the with this team that you would like to use as a reference.
yes,
V, and so
yes.
I didn't cancel it as far as I know. So
Okay, it's just when I opened the invite, it showed me there's a cancellation request and it's canceled it from my meeting, from my calendar.
can you still join?
Yeah. I'm staying on.
Okay, great. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Because I want to make progress on this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And okay. I had a request to see, since it looks like Wolfie conversations are going to go better now, I wanted
Yes.
to know whether we could move this meeting out by about 15 minutes, whether it works with the rest of the crowd. Otherwise,
Which
I'll see whether I can start Wolfie 5 minutes, 10 minutes earlier or something like that. I don't know. We'll stack on this offline.
Okay.
Okay. We'll just wait for the others to join.
Yes. Let me ping them. I think the key person is Ravi, so let me ping him. Ravi ready. Now everyone is going to Outlook, right? Here we go. Hi. Oh, here we go. Hi, Ravi.
Yeah. And I'm going to check whether Vivek is joining us. Did you invite Vivek? I don't know. I didn't see the invite.
Let me see.
Let me ask Vivek if he can join.
Okay.
Hi, Eitan. Yeah.
Hi.
Thank you for pinging. Yes, actually, I want to
Hi,
join
Vivek.
it.
Yes, thank you. And Sarita, we did invite VP.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
And today I asked him to.
I hope
Also
he's
work.
not got the same problem on this. I don't know. It's just disappeared from my calendar. I can't understand why.
Just your calendar is upset with me, maybe. Maybe I did something.
I'm now waiting. I think it's just doing all this so that I'm like really eager for to go to Outlook. I've actually been eager to go to Outlook ever since I joined IBM. I was hoping and praying that we moved to Outlook.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Sarita. Yeah.
Yeah.
We already moved as part of the research, but
I joined IBM 12 years ago, and I completely hated notes.
yeah.
So in my, what's funny about this, if you know, Ravi, you may notice this, I'm working with the network version. I like the network version much better
Okay.
than the desktop. So the Vivit is telling me do this, and I say I don't have that option.
Huh.
Then
Okay.
I
That's
find
interesting.
out that it's the network version I'm working on.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Version, could you say that again one more time? Network?
Network
The web
version of
version.
Outlook.
The web
Oh,
version.
is it? Oh,
Yeah, the net version.
okay. Mm.
Right. Okay, I don't know whether Vivek has answered.
So
Oh, he's in a storm call. Oh, okay. He cannot join.
hmm,
He had sent a counter apparently. Okay. One of his team is on leave, so he's in a engagement call. I mean a solution that we're testing.
okay.
Okay, okay. Let me just check. Let me just see if I can. I want to get one person from the team in so that I don't become a bottleneck.
Yes.
No worries.
Maybe Meenakshi?
I'm just no, no. Meenakshi doesn't do the testing, so she doesn't do deployments. We need somebody who'll do deployments,
Ah,
who will actually get in and start testing with a client application, which is what we will consider this application as.
hmm,
So he's just trying to see if somebody can join from his team.
okay, great.
Thank you, Sarita. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's just checking who can join. Oh. So last week we had a meeting with the analysts, Ravi,
Mhm.
okay, where we actually covered from an Ignite and a quality engineering construct. We covered how our relationship with research is, okay, and how basically we are a poster child for the SRCP from QE and tests or automation standpoint. And the analyst was most interested, I would say, by what we had to share. And I think there was a lot of curiosity in terms of how we are taking research to the market, right, Aidan? And how we are
Yes,
making,
I agree. I agree.
how the relationship works. And yeah, I mean, I think it was a very, very good and positive meeting. And so I think more and more of these, uh, how do I call it? Demos, references that we have internally will really, and relationships. I think the biggest thing he was excited, I mean, he was interested in is in terms of how our internal relationships work. How is it that we are bringing the larger IBM into play and things like that. So yeah, just no pressure on you, and no pressure on me either. We need to get this successful.
Wonderful. Yeah. Good to know, Sarita. Yeah.
And the other thing which I was having a discussion, so Aidan, I haven't updated you on this, we haven't spoken. So I had a late night call with Ray Harishankar on Friday.
Mhm.
Okay, so Aidan Ray is an IBM fellow and god of many things in IBM consulting. Okay,
Mhm.
and one of the things that he manages is I mean, he runs the assetization program. Okay, so I was basically talking to him in terms of what all the plans that I have now that I'm CTO for Ignite in terms of what we can do there and what else we should be doing and how to take it forward. And one of the things that we were talking was saying, how do we actually improve or increase it by making it a part of other assets, right? Because as such, testing is ubiquitous in everything. So how can it be a part of another asset or be a part of another offering? So I basically mentioned to him, Ravi, about this piece of work
Mhm.
that we are hoping to start off, and maybe this then becomes some way in which we can actually create Ignite models around the assets, right? And the implementation and drive it around. So he said, yeah, that's also a good way to go. So he's going to be watching the space carefully. Again, I don't know why I do this. Sometimes I just go and add pressure to myself.
Yeah,
So, hi, Papya, thank you so much for joining on extremely short notice. Thanks a
Good
lot.
evening,
Really
good
appreciate
evening,
it.
good morning, everyone.
yeah.
So,
Thank
guys,
you.
just to introduce, Papya is one of our absolute foremost SMEs on Ignite. She's an absolute stud when it comes to deploying, troubleshooting, getting clients onto Ignite. So,
Ab-
yeah,
Absolutely. We did interact with Papia last week. I think Cassandra on the team on
yeah,
this call as well, actually,
yeah.
right? So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Welcome back, Papia. Thanks for joining.
All right, let's get started.
Just to close in on that Ray Harishankar's topic, yes, actually the assetization part, I hear that you're trying to get this more like in a little go-to-market type of a platform. That way, I think
Yeah,
that's where you're trying to make it an offering. That's how I take
yeah,
it as, right?
yeah.
So
See,
yeah.
we are already an offering that we take elsewhere, but when we
Mhm.
couple it, for example, with your offering, right, then we are able
Mhm.
to say that we are a starter kit for your offering.
Right.
Right? So when you
Okay.
go and deploy your offering in a client engagement, we
Mhm.
already come in with test cases prefab so that we can do the deployment and we can do the implementation and of the platform and whatever customization. And we have test cases out of the pack and the automation in place, which can be tweaked and easily run or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. By the way, Teresa and Ravi here, um, they were all in the same city here. Actually, we used to be in the same office here in Columbus, Ohio. So Ray Harishankar and team, as well as Amir, he also lives in Columbus. Actually, just FYI.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
And okay.
So from our last meeting, Sarita, Eton, so what we discussed was, yes, actually, we will start off with a couple of things for us to get source to pay related test cases, feed into Ignite, and then see how Ignite comes back with the result side of it versus what that kind of a SRC, I mean the S2P testing users had performed. So basically just do a little gap analysis and then figure out if there is any questions, concerns in general execution side of it. That's one. That's where Cassandra is here to. She's more eager to get this. Onboarded, absolutely. That way, I think going forward for any of our intelligent workflows, we would like to take this as part of the architectural decision and then move forward. Obviously, we had done some sort of a performance testing related function capability last year using Ignite. I think there was some feedback that was shared, but this time it's going to be functional capabilities, functional testing capabilities is what we like to get started. That's where we need your help, Vivek and Papia's team help to get this first cut fed into Ignite and then basically just provide some output and then talk through along with Cassandra. Let me pause there. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you guys connected to understand last week to understand how the platform can work and what can be done, right?
No, we haven't had
No.
any session since our
Okay.
last meeting,
Okay,
which
last
is
time you connected.
3 weeks
Okay.
ago.
So I think what we should do is
Mhm.
maybe the follow-up steps would be for you to show Papya, maybe if you have existing test cases that you
Yeah.
have, right? You can share that across with Papya if you have any existing automation on whatever your framework is. I'm assuming you're doing some Selenium-based automation.
In this case, yeah, Cassandra, could you talk through how it is done for?
Yeah, what have you done so far? That'll be good to know. Yeah.
For testing in general on source to pay or just the performance testing?
In general, the functional side of it, functional case.
So
Okay.
very functional side, yeah.
Okay, so a lot of it was manual testing. So we did unit testing. So the manual testing. Then there is a team member that has done regression testing. So he's done automated scripts. I'm not exactly sure. I think he's using Selenium and has created a regression test. And so he runs those daily and is able to catch when there's an issue that something is not right in our test environment, and he'll be able to identify that. And then the other piece that we've done a performance test. And I was using Rational Performance Tester, and that was several months ago that we executed that.
Okay.
And
And
then
how
there was
many
also the
regression
end-to-end
tests?
like integration testing, but again, that was just manual testing.
Okay, so great. So the integration testing were more at the API level?
There's also a team member that's doing API testing.
Okay.
But
Okay,
the
otherwise
integration
integration
testing is actually from the end user perspective of from the
okay.
end user, does it go and come back with the right results? And we can go into the database and go, okay, well, what status is it in if it didn't come back correctly?
So Cassandra, can we say majority of the user interface testing or the API testing, the regression test case, except the regression test cases, it's all manual at this
Yeah.
point on this 2P
Yeah.
side? Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify
Okay.
that part. Yeah,
How
sure.
many how many regression tests do you think are automated? Do you
Ooh,
have a count?
I don't, I would think 20 or maybe more. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, so here's a thought process. Okay, we could look at your functional test cases. Maybe you pick it out for one module or one functionality. You create your segregation in some way, and you share across those test cases. And we will, working with you and maybe looking at the application, we will create a model and show you how those test cases are converted into an automated test.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be one thing that we do. So we'll do the model and the optimization, and then we will generate the test automation script and show you the optimization as well as the automation script and what can be executed. Okay, that is one. The second thing is, if you can hook us up to your environment, what we'd like to do is to run your regression test. Okay, and so that we are not recreating your regression test from scratch and re-automating it, we will run that regression test and convert that regression test into an automation test, the automated regression test into an automation test in Ignite. Papya, we should be able to do that, right? This will not have optimization, but we can convert the automated regression test that's there in Selenium into an OTFA script.
Yes.
Using the one-touch engine.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is something which we can do, but for which we will need and Papya will work with you, or Papya, somebody from her team. She will be there definitely, but we'll get somebody to work with you on this and drive both these pieces. Okay. So then what you guys get to understanding, and hopefully we'll all, we'll be able to see the value or showcase the value. You'll be able to see how do we actually upfront create a model that can be modified, can be easily manipulated when there is a change in the requirement or change in a client environment, change in anything, right? How do we actually change the model and regenerate the test case, the automation, so that the automation is created without you having a specific automation tester to do the automation as a post-effect process.
And is this natural language? Like if if it was to be like a field was added and you say, put this value into this field. Is that how this tool works?
Yeah, so it's pretty nice. Papia, do you think you can rapidly show, just get into ODFA and Ignite and show it?
Sure, I can.
Yeah. So there are two ways, Cassandra, it works, right? The first is to actually we use what is known as we understand the application or the functional flow, and we create we kind of segregate or separate out all the attributes and variables that matter. Okay, so this is put into I mean, there's an input form where we update all of this, and if there are any restrictions in the way in which these attributes interact, or right, or if there are any restrictions based on the variables themselves, the values themselves, those are also updated in this modeling tool. Okay, and once these are updated, then the magic happens and we generate test cases from it, which basically is about generating the combinations of legal tests that can be run. Okay, and then we also get what are bad path tests as well. We can generate that also. So this tells you the combination of tests that need to be run. Okay, once that is done, there is an interactive interface whereby we can go and do exactly what you're saying. For each of these combinations, we can actually now detail the steps in natural language. Okay, so a lot of things are already, so for example, actions to click, actions to select, actions to input, right? All those words are already established as triggers within the system. So by using those triggers and using this natural language construct, you can create a feature file. And that is the executable, right? That's the executable test. So without writing any code, you already have an executable test. Okay, but to execute that executable test, you need to do one more thing. Okay, so far all of this is done without touching the application. It's just an understanding of the requirements, understanding of the screen, but the test is not, you're not actually executing it. I mean, you've not really connected it with the application really. Yeah. So this connection is required for us to run the automation. And so that connection is done by doing what is known as connecting the objects that are available on the application with the tests that we have written, the automation that we have written. Okay, so that's a semi-automated process. There is help that kicks in, and it semi-automates and identifies all the objects. And then once that object identification is done, you can run your test script.
So then how does it convert though, if those are written in Selenium? Is it just going to come up with a list of like, these are the actions that are needed to be done, and then we still have to do the connections?
So Papia will show you how it's done. So forget about Selenium. I'm now talking to you just about the tests that you have, the manual tests that you have.
Okay.
Okay, so that is one. Now, if I have the Selenium, which you already have for your 20 odd test cases, now your Selenium tester, your automation guy, would have actually gone and done that object identification, written the steps, written the components, written the code, etc. Okay, so now in this case, what we'll do is we will see what he's done, what objects he's identified, and marry that into our work so that you don't have to redo, we don't have to re-automate everything.
Okay. Looks like this uses Cucumber.
Yes, we use
here.
Cucumber. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, then it does come in pretty easily then.
Yep. So actually, the Cucumber that we have is probably one of the best Cucumber implementations universally, because it has the ability to abstract as well as the ability to detail, which other Cucumber that you write does not have. Right? You can write the high level abstraction, and then to do the detailing, you need to have a framework in place. You need to do the automation, but we have it built in one. So that's a nice thing about this solution. Papia, over to you. I'll stop talking.
Thanks, Sarita. I was just pulling up the PPT.
Yeah.
1 minute. Okay. So first to start with, as Sarita mentioned, that we can um, have the manual test cases, and from the manual test cases, we want to automate. We'll create the model with a test optimization. So this is what we do. Like we have the test optimization tiles here. So in here we
This
will
is
be,
the application itself. This is not a PPT, guys. Yeah.
yeah, this is the actual application I'm showing, the demo. And in this application we have got the various styles. Okay, so here we have test optimization, test generation, test automation. So what we do in test optimization is we feed in the details that we get from the requirements, as Sarita mentioned, regarding the attributes and the values, the points of variations in the requirements. We feed in here, we feed in the restrictions, as in the business rules that would be there, and based on the details that we feed in, it will give us the scenario combinations, the number of scenario outputs, so the good part and the bad part. I'll show in details. The next part is the next style that we have is the test generation. So this is where we create the test scripts. Here we don't use any Selenium or any Java or Python. We use the Cucumber construct to create the automated test scripts here. And you have the test automation tile here. This is the tile here. We execute the test cases. We add the external data file. We do the object mapping, and we do the test execution. So these are the three most important ones, that if we want to do a test automation, either from the manual test cases, or we want to convert the Selenium scripts to the Cucumber framework. So these are the tiles that I will be giving the demo on. First, let me just go to the test optimization. Once I click on the test optimization, this thing's open. I'll just open it once more. So here we create the models based on the requirements.
So when we say model, okay, we basically mean that, I mean, we use the construct of combinatorial test design. Now, this fact is more or less transparent to the user, I mean, to the tester, right? So we're just saying, tell me what your attributes, variables, key points of variation are, and we will help you, I mean, the tool will help you generate the tests. The way it is done, etc., is more or less transparent to the user if the user wants it that way, or there's some manipulation that we can also do that gives the tester more control. Up here to you. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll just go to this flight ticket. So this is a web application where we have the airline flight ticket booking model created. So let me open this model on a very high level. Let me show you, like for the flight ticket. So we have the various types of user: registered user, new user. We can have the destinations, the valid destination. We can have the various types of the booking types. So all these are the attributes and their corresponding values. Why these are the attributes? Because based on these input, based on these, like the origin and the destination, the valid origin or the valid destination, invalid origin, invalid destination, based on the trip type, based on the connecting flight, the departure, and the various values, the application functionality or the application flow will change as per the requirement.
Did you have to
Now,
manually
just
enter
quickly
in
take
all
a
those
step
values
back.
then? Or does
Sorry?
it go and do you have to enter those values in manually into this table?
Yeah, so normally what happens is, based on an understanding of the application, you would add, right? Saying, okay, what are all the attributes and variables that matter? So what's my functionality? I should be able to, I have an origin, I have a destination, I have different types of trip types. So you start detailing all of these things. It's almost like, establishing the different features within that functionality.
Okay.
And what are the states of those features?
Okay.
And what are the legal values that apply to those features? What are the states in which they can exist? That's probably what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, you'd say that sorry, Papio, why don't you pick up any one and just explain how it is created and what it has, right?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Say
Yeah.
I click here. So once I click on this attribute, I have add attribute. Okay. So let me just click on edit. So once let me just click here. So once I click on attribute, I give the attribute name, the description. So this is optional, the type of the attribute. And here we add the values. So what are the values? Values are the attribute here is the basic search type. What are the values for the trip, trip type? These are the values: multi-city, one-way, round trip, 3-city. Okay. So these are the values. So here we click on attribute, we give the attribute details, and there we add the values. So once we have created, so this is how it would look like.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm unable to click here. So not getting edited. So this is how it will be looking. So we have to enter this manually. And also, the very interesting part is that we need to do the requirement traceability, right? So based on which requirements we are adding the attributes and the values. So here you can also do the requirement traceability. So here in the requirement traceability, we will be adding all the requirements which are there in the scope. And based on, so let me just
So
go
then
to
does this tool take each of those values? I mean, I see like there's multiple ones, like there's multi-city, one way. So will there be I'm not sure if it's a test case or maybe a run through of every single combination where it's this is the city, this is a one-way ticket, and I don't know what the other ones
will be
were.
combinations created. There will be combinations created for each of them.
And so does that automatically happen in the tool and it just runs those combinations?
It will automatically create those combinations based on the inputs that we are providing here.
Okay.
Okay. Let me just see if it opens. So here we can add the attributes and the values, and we can add the restrictions as well. The requirements as well against each of the. So once we have the requirements traceability, we have the details. The next thing that we can add is the restriction. What are the restrictions? Restrictions are the business rules. Okay. So what can be the business rules? Say for instance, this one, we are adding the business rule as if the trip type is one way or round trip, then multi-city flights is not applicable. So this is as per the requirements given in the as part of the business rule. So we are adding these as part of the restrictions. So here there's another restriction as if it is multi-city flight, then the basic connecting flight will be, if multi-city flight is not applicable, then the connecting flights is not applicable. Okay. So connecting flight will only be applicable if it is multi-city. Yes, it will not be applicable. So these are the various business rules that we can add. Sorry. Okay. And why do we need to add the business rules? Why do we need to add the restrictions? Because I don't want this tool to come up with the scenario combinations which are invalid in nature, which doesn't conform with the test requirements, which are not there in the application. So invalid test cases or the redundant test cases, we don't want those scenario combinations to come. So once we add these details, the tool automatically, based on its underlying algorithm, it will create the test scenario combinations. So we can see it has created the scenario combinations. In the good part, it has created 21 scenario combinations, and each row depicts one combination each. Like this is the first scenario combination, this is the second scenario, the third scenario, and you can see the various combinations which are there.
So if you read this, it basically says, if I am a registered user, so the test case goes like this, right? If I'm a registered user, then I enter a valid origin and a valid destination, right? I can do a 3-city search type, okay? And which basically then means I need a minimum of two flights, right? And then there's a validity date and so on and so forth, right? Or if I'm a guest user, this is what I can search for. So these are each of the test cases or the test conditions that you can run, which are legal.
Then do you guys also do the negative testing where you would say you have 3 cities, but then you only enter in one city, and how does it handle that?
So if we are marking anything as negative, if you are marking any values as negative here, let me just show it to you. So here we have the values marked as negative here. So here you can see if it's blank and invalid destination, so this combination is negative. If the passenger details is blank, this combination is negative. Okay, if the payment is blank, this and a payment is invalid, so anything with the invalid payment, this will become the negative test case. So we have given the details here. So once we go to the test plan again, currently we have seen the good part test cases, 21 good part test cases means the positive testing. Now we have another tab as bad part. So these are the negative cases. So you can see the negative test cases got created for the definitions that we have provided in the negative combinations. So this is how the test scenarios get created. But here definitely it doesn't have the test steps, the test scripts. So these are only the overall test scenarios, okay? The test combination based on that. Now the second part would be we need to create the test scripts or the automated test scripts. So for that we have to go to the test generation. So once we click on the test generation, another tab opens and here we can add the file details, the type of script that we need to develop, whether it's a web, for a mobile, for API, and we set the triggers. Now let me open our file and show you quickly how it is done. So already this particular platform has the set of actions, the keyword actions defined. So we know that for the web testing, we would be needing certain actions, right? So what are those actions? Say we would be needing the actions such as a click, we would be needing the actions such as navigate to URL or a validation or press enter, or we need to upload file, download file, we need to have the validation of the page title, okay? And there are so on and so forth, like we need to select the values from the drop down, we need to enter the details, we need to click on the details, and there are a lot of actions that we have to do on the web testing. So for all the actions, already you can see the list of actions, the list of keywords that this platform has, and these are all relevant to the web testing. So we already have the actions created. So all we need to do is like select the particular action from the list and we click on save. Okay. Okay, I need to add the value. Say, and here also we can have the data hard coded, we can have the data from an external data file. So everything is given here. I'll just give the name. I click on certain button. Say I click on the add button. I click on OK. I click on add, and you can see the new test, the new test steps got added. And this is the syntax, the cucumber syntax. We don't need to remember the cucumber syntax. Everything is there as a drop down, and you have to either select anything or enter the details. Now, for all these, there are user guides, manuals, demo videos present, so that it's very easy for anyone who wants to work on this platform as a new tester who wants to do the automation. It's very easy. Okay. So you can see how easy it is. And once we create these kind of test steps, we can preview. Once we click on preview, it will showcase the test scripts. So this is my cucumber test scripts for each of the test scenarios. Okay, and we can, the next part would be to automate. So once we click on this automate, I will not click here right now. Once we click on this automate, what it will do is it will push the file to this test automation, which is this third tile, which I showed you, OTFA, and we will have the test scripts already, the test scripts file already present here. Now, in this particular tile in OTFA, what we need to do, since we have the test scripts file here,
I think your screen's frozen. I had to see a white screen with the headers.
um,
Oh, there,
please come
now
again.
something's painting. Okay, now it says feature file.
Please come again. If I missed any, was there any question?
Oh, no, I just didn't see your screen for a little bit. It just seemed like it was white. So, it's
Okay.
good now.
Okay. So, was this not visible? Was the screen not visible till now?
Yeah, I wasn't, yeah, now I can see it again.
For
Go ahead
a
and
few
continue.
seconds. Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Okay. So we create the test scripts here, and the after creating the test scripts, the file gets pushed here. And what we need to do is we need to add the data file. I'm going to show you here. We need to add the data file, and we need to map the object. Okay. So for mapping of the object also, this platform comes with a browser plugin, where we just download this plugin and upload as a browser extension. What it does is, the benefit of this is, once we need to inspect any element, and say there's a new tester who got who's just working on automation, and the tester needs to um, inspect this object, and the tester doesn't know how to do it, the expert. So it doesn't matter with this plugin. So this is the object capture plugin. Based on the properties, it will identify and it will automatically construct the property details for that given object. We just need to copy and paste it in the application. So this is also very easily done, so that the user can make use of this. And we add the object values here, the first step. And the second thing that we need to do is we need to set up the data. As we have the concept of creating the data, we can set up the data from the database. We can upload it from the database. We can select any other existing data file, Excel sheet, or if I want to upload my Excel sheet, I can add my Excel sheet, and it can be reused by the testers for the test execution. So once we do these two details, the next thing is we can automate. We need to execute. Sorry, we need to execute. So to execute, I have this execution. Say my file, my feature file has got multiple test scenarios. Okay, it has got. I'm so sorry. It has got multiple test scenarios, two test scenarios, but I don't want to execute both of them. I want to execute any one. So I have the concept of partial test. If my test, the previous test run has any failure in any of the test cases, I only want to run the fail scenario. That also I can do. Once it gets displayed here, I can run the fail scenario. If I want to run all the tests scenarios in the feature file, I'll do the start test. It'll take me to the execution page. So here, I need to just give whether I want to do a sequential, parallel by platform, parallel by scenario. Parallel by platform means the browser. The number of browsers, in the number of browsers I want to do the execution in. Okay, and parallel by scenario is if I want to parallelly run the scenarios. And of course, I can run on server. So this particular Ignite instance is there on cloud. So we have the concept of Selenium. You can run on server in Selenium, or else if you want to run in browser, means I want to use my local browser. I want to see the execution in my system. I can do the execution there using my browser.
So you can actually watch it go through and run through the browser?
Exactly. So if you run on browser, so what will happen is it will use the tester's system configuration, tester's browser, and it will open the execution in his or her system. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is not running in the background. You can actually visually watch it go through the test case then.
Yes, yes, means that is the browser mode execution.
Yep.
And if you are like Ignite platform has various versions. Like it can have a run on the Ignite has a Windows-based Ignite or Linux-based Ignite and OpenShift-based Ignite. So if you are using an OpenShift or Linux, it has a concept of Selenium. Okay, Selenium is you open the URL here, the Selenium URL. Okay, it is a container-based server. It will you select the server and you have the Selenium URL. You can see the execution happening in the I mean you can see the execution with the help of that URL. It will not use your tester system configuration. It will have a container-based execution. Okay? So we have got the various versions, various flavors of execution based on the kind of Ignite that you're using, and then you do a start test. So once we do the start test, after that we get the result, and of course you can do the various other configurations and the permutations, whether you want the notifications to be sent, or you want to add any desired capabilities or auto heal. Okay, so auto heal is a very interesting feature. Like if the object properties changes from time to time and the test case fails, so this is a very common auto heal features. Actually will try to identify the updated element properties and execute on its own. So we have a lot of features here. I will not go through the details of each and every one of them at this moment. So once we are done with the execution, we can see the report. We can download the reports in PDF, Excel, Word, various format. We can see the report details from here. We see the screenshots of the execution, and we can see the step level details from here. Okay, and this platform can be integrated with version control system like GitHub, with GitLab. It can be integrated with test and defect management, with Jira and ALM. So once it's integrated and you encounter a failure, the defect will be automatically created for you in the tool, so you don't have to spend the manual time. It can be integrated with the DevOps pipeline, like you can have Jenkins or Bamboo, and you can have an unattended execution. You don't have to manually do the execution. You can trigger the execution in an unattended way by using a scheduler in Jenkins. It will automatically get triggered from this platform. So these there are various of these integration also that you can do for the test execution and version control and test and defect management. So let me know, this is in a very short overview, as in what can be done. And this platform can be used for the execution of web, mobile, and API web services.
Yep. Okay. So I'm kind of curious on how it would work with our tool. It has an unusual feature in that there's this, and maybe it's fine with you, but it has this pop-up window, and it's hard to capture those values in that thing. So I don't know, would there be a chance that we could actually work together? I could show you the app, and then you could give me like a run through, like, yeah, this is how it's going to work, and actually work with my particular app and show me how to do it?
Yep, definitely. So here also we do have the functionality for handling the pop-ups, but definitely based on your application, we can still have a look and have the feasibility done.
So
Okay.
your application will be available on the Blue network, right? On IBM network.
Yeah, it is.
So which means that you could probably create an instance, Papier, and do a test. I mean, create a project and do a test using Ignite, our Ignite, the GTA
Yes,
implementation that we have.
yes, definitely.
Okay, so maybe you can create a user ID for Cassandra as well.
I will do that.
Yeah, why don't you guys just set up a working session where you can create the project, create the user IDs, connect to her application, and just take it forward?
Sounds
Yep.
good.
Sarita.
Where are
Perfect.
you located in Poppy? I'm in Colorado, so it's 7:45 a.m. for me.
Okay, I'm in India,
Okay.
so it's
Is it
8:15 for me.
8:15? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this an okay time for you then? I mean, it's probably about the best for me.
Absolutely, Cassandra, we can touch base at
Papia,
this
it
time.
works for you?
Yes, Sarita, I can touch base
Okay.
with Cassandra. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah, you guys just Slack and work out a suitable time, right? Whichever.
That sounds good.
And Papia, take one of the youngsters into the call with you. The guys you've recently onboarded, maybe.
Sure, Sarita.
Yeah. So you can get somebody else also to work in parallel with you on this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. I guess I do have one more question. Has the performance testing piece of Ignite been changed? I mean, is it more resemble a real performance test or not?
So there's been an integration on Ignite. We have I think it's integrated with JMeter. And what happens is that we can reuse the same functional tests that are created to actually create the load. Okay, to simulate the load. And then JMeter is used for the monitoring, and the reporting can be done through that.
Okay. Well, I think that'll be another session to figure that out.
Yeah. And Ignite, I don't think integrates with RPT, but we have capability to do, I mean, leaving the platform aside, there are RPT frameworks, and there's an RPT hosted instance that is known as the Ignite PTAS, or the performance testing service instance, performance testing as a service. That instance is also available if you want, but that's not on this platform.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I was just curious on what has changed there. So
What we've been trying to do is to bring performance testing capability or support onto the platform itself, this platform itself, instead of having it as a separate service.
okay. So that's still to come, then you're saying?
Sorry?
That's you guys are still in development of that piece of it?
No, that's done. That's developed. It's a part of the platform.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So
Wonderful.
how do we want to go as next steps? So do we just leave it to Papia and Cassandra to pick up and work out a schedule and a plan, or should we, I mean, is there something we need to do in terms of detailed next steps?
Yeah, I think just going through as a working session, I think that will give a little bit more clarity on the plan or how much time we need to spend together. Sarita, yes, actually, and then parallelly we can get started. I think I see Eton had requested for follow-up in 2 weeks, but we can also talk through at that point how best we can go through on the other aspects, more on the Swagger documentation based, API based.
Yeah, that we'll do in parallel. So see, Papia's very, I mean, she can run a complete deployment, installation, a roadmap, a plan with respect to Ignite. So let her and Cassandra work on that and get that up and running in the next 2 weeks. I think what we should look at over there, Papia, is in terms of, like I said, you guys create a platform. I mean, you create a project on our instance, give Cassandra access. She can also be an admin on that project, right? And then you can create her as you can create her as a user, establish her as an admin, do one CTD model along with her. And in parallel, maybe if you can get access to the automation code, you can run the other piece of work, which is to convert that automation code into an automation script in Ignite. And we can have two things running, ready in parallel on the platform. Okay, so that's one. In parallel, Ravi, we'll have another call. Today's only Monday, so we can have another call this week where we can, if you can give us access, actually, if you can just give us access to your Swagger documentation.
Yeah.
Okay, what we will do is we will run the utility that we have. we'll configure it, make a copy of your Swagger, configure it, and generate the tests, and then ask you, and if you can give us the URL which we can hit for the application,
Yeah.
right? Then we can execute all of that and give you show you a result. So maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, or worst case Friday. I would prefer to do it by Thursday, right? We'll show you what we've done, and we can take it from there.
So along with the Swagger documentation link, you also need the application user additional credentials, etc. Yeah.
Yes. Anything that is, I mean, basically all the credentials to be able to run the tests on that, on the APIs we have.
For sure. Okay, yeah, absolutely. This is really helpful.
If you can just mail that out, or or give us a link to it wherever you have, and give us the details, I think we will be able to take it forward. Here is the person that you need to include in that email so that I don't have to forward it.
Yeah.
SOUMENSAHA2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is
wonderful.
I will share his details just right away. One sec, I'll share his credentials with you as well.
Okay.
Soman Saha, just one sec, I'll give it to you in this chat, otherwise it becomes a task which I may not always complete. Copy email ID.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, we'll do that actually. I'll keep.
There you are. There it is. Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep
Saha
Suman in the loop.
Saltu@innovative.com. You got it?
Yep. Got it.
Okay, so just send it to him, CC me and Ethan, and we will make sure we are running it. I mean, he will make sure. In fact, he's awesome at like Papia is, he'll be able to run it through.
Yeah, wonderful.
Okay. I just have one question. You guys have followed, I mean, as a part of your coding, you followed good coding practices and generally following IBM standards to some extent?
Yeah, it's all microservices based. So absolutely. I think standards wise, we do have a lot of consistency across the board. So source to pay is one of the intelligent workflows. We've done 2 other intelligent workflows already. So yeah, I think there is a lot more improvement done over the time. So yeah, absolutely.
Oh. And overall, the code is standard and decent.
Yes. No question on that. Yep.
Okay, let's give it a shot and we'll tell you what we discover.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Cassandra, as you get into the Slack more and then the next sessions, could you include me and Krishna as well? I think I'm requesting Papia as well, obviously.
Let's just create a Slack channel where we are all there, no?
That'll be better. Yeah. Okay, let me share that. Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful.
And then next week, so this week, Papia will and Cassandra will take this thread off, and then we are starting this other thread with Soman. As a follow-up, as another action, next week, what we would love to do with you is to, if you can give us access to your Git repository in terms of ability to see the history, we'd like to try another experiment with you.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
But that's for next week. So just create a channel so we can add people in based on the threads.
Wonderful. Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, appreciate it.
Super.
Appreciate all
Thank you
that.
so much. Thanks a lot, Papia. You really joined on a minute's notice. Thanks, Cassandra. Looking forward to what you guys find out together.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep.
Yes.
Good evening. Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
you.
Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.